Hello everybody, welcome to P.B.M. Money. Today I want to talk about long-term care. Now when I was in the insurance business, I guess it's been 20 years ago, I sold mostly to seniors, and I sold just about all the policies that seniors would need: Medicare supplements, life insurance, and long-term care. And the long-term care policies, they're all different. And when I first started selling them, it was a great plan. They covered just about any long-term care that you could come up with. They would pay $100 a day regardless. It was a good policy. And it was expensive, but not that expensive. When the insurance companies figured out that people were buying them up, they started raising the rates. And when the insurance companies raised the rates, the long-term care facilities raised their rates. Within 2 years of me starting selling those policies, the average cost was now $200 a day and rising, and the premiums had doubled. Now, why were people buying long-term care policies? Well, the obvious answer is they didn't want to be a burden to the people that were behind if they ended up in a nursing home. So one of the advantages is they were paying their bill in advance, and it gave them peace of mind, and it saved their beneficiaries money because they were paying it themselves. So, I mean, there was some good benefits to it until the insurance companies figured out that the people were... Now think about that. 20 years ago, if I sold a policy for $100 a day, and I don't know what it runs today, it's probably $300, $400, $500 a day, and those people go to a nursing home, they think they're covered. Nope. They're going to get... And they started changing the policies too. They were putting limits on it and conditions, and so they wouldn't have to pay on those old policies. So having done that, I stopped selling long-term care policies after 2 years, by the way. I mean, I sold one here, one there, but only because people wanted it. I didn't think it was a good policy anymore. Now, what are some of the non-benefits, the things that are against you buying a long-term care policy? Number one, it's expensive. And you say, well, yeah, but so is going to a nursing home. That's true, but it's going to be expensive whether you spend your money on a policy or not. How about take that money and save it? The costs aren't set. I mean, in the example that I gave, 20 years ago, $100 a day covered your stay in a nursing home. Today, $100 a day won't get you past noon. The cost aren't, and the policy amount isn't set either. Those, and I don't know what they are today, but the long-term care policy, the rate on those would change annually. So none of your costs were set. You couldn't plan on anything. And the statistics were back then 1 in 3. Now there's a lot of baby boomers going through the system right now, so I'm going to guess it's still 1 in 3 to 1 in 4 go to a nursing home. So that means if 4 people bought the policy, only 1 to 2 of them is going to use it. And even then, they may not use it for very long. Another reason would be opportunity cost. If you're spending $250 a month on a long-term care policy, you are not spending $250 a month on investments. What if you took that $250 a month and put it into the stock market for the next 20 years and used that to pay for your long-term care if you need it? If not, you get to pass that down to your heirs. You don't get to pass a long-term care policy down to your heirs. That's just money given away to the insurance company. Now, some people say that they want to get the long-term care policy so they protect their assets. If they go to nursing home and they can't pay for it, the nursing home will take all of your assets, and that's true. That is definitely true. But there's other ways to protect your assets. How about a living trust? That's what I always recommended to people. Do a living trust right now. And if you want to get a long-term care policy to protect yourself for the next 5 years, then okay, but after 5 years, stop. Why 5 years? Because the state that I live in, anyway, has an automatic 5-year look back. So if you put your assets into a trust within the last 5 years, they can bust that trust and get the assets out of it. So do it now while you're healthy. If you want to get a policy to protect yourself in case they bust the trust, then okay, but do it for 5 years. Don't do it for life. Then at the end of the 5 years, cancel your policy, and now your assets are protected. And the last detriment, which we've already covered, is that the long-term care policy only covers a certain amount of time. It doesn't pay $100 a day for the rest of your life. It pays $100 a day up to a lifetime maximum of whatever the maximum is in your policy. So if you go in, if you're in a car accident and you go in when you're 30 years old, it's only going to pay a lifetime amount, and then when it's done, it's done. The insurance companies have taken that policy and butchered that so many ways that you have to be, it's kind of like getting an auto protection warranty. You have to jump through so many hoops. It would have been better to just save the money and spend it. So overall, what is my feeling about long-term care policy? Obviously, the answer is absolutely not. I would not recommend, I would not sell a long-term care policy to anyone. The alternative I would recommend is, first, open a living trust, one for each heir. Divide your assets the way you want them divided, put it into the living trust. And if you want to get a policy to cover you for 5 years, then okay, go do that, or whatever it is in your state. So you've got your assets protected, you've got yourself protected in case you go in. At the end of 5 years, you cut it off, and you start saving that money that you're paying on your insurance policy, put that into the stock market. And if you live 20, 30 more years, then you've got 20 or 30 years of investment in the stock market now that you can pass on. And if you end up going to a nursing home in 30 years, you can take that money and pay for it. Well, that's my feeling on long-term care policies. I think they're a ripoff. They were intended for good reasons, but the insurance companies have bastardized them so bad they're not worth the time, they're not worth the effort. It's just my opinion. Well, you guys have a great day and happy investing.